Okay, so this is empowerment technology, and this is lesson 1. The title of our lesson is the current state of ICT technologies in the Philippines. So let's start. So first of all, what is ICT? So ang alam natin pagdating sa ICT is all about ito magaling mag-computer to. I-hack mo naman yung yung Facebook ng boyfriend or girlfriend ko, and so on and so forth. Ayusin mo naman yung washing machine ko, and so on. So, yun yung basic knowledge about ICT ng mga tao. But this is the true meaning of ICT. ICT stands for Information and Communication Technology. Well, it deals with the use of different communication technologies such as mobile phones, telephones, internet, etc. It is to locate, save, send, and edit information. And that is ICT po. So, next natin, there is a big difference between ICT and IS. Ano nga ba si ICT at si IT pati si IS? Well, IT stands for Information Technology, and it is the use of any computer storage, networking, and other physical devices, infrastructure, and processes to create, store, secure, and exchange all forms of electronic data. And that is IT. Remember, IT, it is the use of any computer. From the word itself, it is the use. Okay? Next is IS. IS stands for Information System, and it is the collection of technical and human resources that provides the storage of computing, distribution, and communication of the information required by the enterprises. Okay? So, in this part, para mas maintindihan natin, ito po si IT, yung nasa left side po natin, siya po si IT, and nasa right side po natin, siya naman po si IS. So, si IT po, siya po yung nagmamanage. So, siya po yung gumagamit or nagmamanage pagdating sa ating network, security purposes, programming, cloud storage, data centers, and even technological infrastructures. So, siya po yung gumagamit nun, IT. While the IS naman po is siya yun po yung mga devices po natin involving, such as PC or computer, laptops, or even mga cellphones po natin. Or any devices that have different softwares that are IS po. So, what is the components of IS or information system? Well, the main components of information system are people, procedures, hardware, software, and telecommunication. So, unahin po muna natin. So, kay people. So, these are the qualified people that are a vital proponent on any information system. So, basically, yung people na to, ito yung mga IT natin or yung mga graduates natin ng ICT or somehow related sa computer. Of course, when you are creating or when you are doing jobs about information system, hindi natin pwedeng ipagalaw to sa mga hindi naman related sa computer. Because probably, hindi rin nila magigets kung paano gagana ang isang information system natin. That's why, those who are qualified people ang pwedeng gumalaw po ng ating ang important component po ng ating information system. One good example of this one is first, the business analyst. So that's number 1. Next is the database administrator. So siya po yung nagfi-fix or siya po yung nagma-manage ng mga datas po natin, specifically online man yan or offline. So, programmers, sila po yung nagke-create ng mga softwares po natin na ginagamit, such as, or even applications, such as Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram, or even yung mga or other social media sites. Computer computer technicians, the one who is in charge in fixing computers and managing ng mga network cabling, especially sa mga offices. So yan po yung ginagawa po nila. Now mostly, so just one trivia about this one, mostly database admin, programmers, business analysts, computer technicians, sa isang malaking kumpanya, maraming iba-ibang trabaho to. But sa small companies, iisa lang yung gumagawa nitong task na to. But again, sa malalaking companies, may nagtatrabaho for business analyst, may nagtatrabaho for database admin, as a programmer, as a computer technician. Pero po sa iba po, sa mga small businesses po, iisa lang po yung gumagawa ng task na to. So, small trivia lang po. Procedures. So, these are the use of operating and maintaining of information system as part of its documentation. Of course, when we are creating or when we are evaluating the system or when we are using the system, of course, we all need the instruction or the procedures on how to use it. Hindi naman pwedeng, halimbawa, kakagamit mo lang or nagkaroon ka ng isang PC or nagkaroon ka ng isang nagkaroon ka ng isang procedure of something or isang system, is magpipindot-pindot ka na lang ng kung ano-ano doon sa system na yon. Of course, you have to know or you have to identify what are the procedures first before doing such thing. Next is the hardware. So what is the hardware? So this is the physical parts of the components of the computer hardware that are categorized as input devices, output devices, and storage devices. Okay? So I think you are all familiar na rin dito sa part na to before. So, siguro napag-aralan nyo na sa mga computer subject nyo to during your junior high school days. So, anyway, let's have a brief introduction lang about this one. So, meron po tayong tinatawag na input devices. Yung input devices po natin is yung mga ini-input po natin or yung mga sinasaksak po natin pagdating sa ating computer. So, pwede po natin gawing example po dito is yung mga keyboards po natin, mouse, and even scanner po, which is pinaplug po natin bago po siya mag-work. And that is an example of input devices. Output devices naman po, ito naman po yung devices from the word itself na nagpa-provide sa atin ng output. For example, when you are kung ikaw ngayon ay gumagamit ng PC or laptop, of course, you are using your monitor. Or sorry, if you are using your computer ngayon or PC, so of course, you are using your monitor para mag-provide ng output. Specifically, itong PowerPoint na pine-play ko ngayon. Next is yung printer. When you are done of something, when you are done with the wording or in your document, once you print it, it will provide an output. That's why it is also considered as output devices po natin. Okay? And next natin is our storage devices. Yung storage devices po natin, one good example of this one is yung mga nasa loob po ng ating PC. Or nasa loob ng ating CPU or nasa loob ng ating laptops. An example of this one is our hard disk, the CD-ROM, and even our flash drive. So, familiar ba tayo sa flash drive, guys? Familiar?
Yes po.
Okay, that's
Apo.
great. So, familiar tayo sa flash drive. So, si flash drive po, ang iba, ang tinatawag po nila sa flash drive is USB, which is, ang correct talagang term for flash drive or ang correct talagang term sa tinatawag na quote-unquote USB is flash drive po. Kasi po, yung USB po, siya po yung sinasaksakan po ng flash drive. So, yun po yung difference po nila. So, medyo iba lang yung term sa mga tao, nakasanayan na lang, pero hanggat maaari sana, mai-proper po natin yung tamang tawag po sa kanya. Okay? So, next part is Ito po yung example po natin ng mga different hardwares. There is your PC, or sorry, there is your keyboard, your scanner, and even your mouse po. Next is yung software. So, what is software? It is a collection of programs designed to operate, control, and extend the processing capabilities of the computer. One good example of this one is yung ating OS. Yung OS po natin or operating system po natin, siya po yung for example natin is Windows 7, kung ano yung type of OS ng PC nyo. For example, Windows 7 ba siya? Windows 8 ba siya? Windows 10 or even Windows 11. Windows XP kasi wala na ngayon. So, compilers natin, for example, Notepad, and even yung mga Microsoft Words po natin. That is one good example of our software. Next is our telecommunication or telecom. These are used to connect or network computer system and portable and wearable devices and to transmit information. An example of this one is your Wi-Fi connection or even your wired connection or your LAN connection. So, yun yung example nito. So, para mas maintindihan natin, this is an example of softwares natin. Meron tayong Windows 10, other operating system, and so on. Sa baba naman, ito po yung mga ginagamit po natin para magkaroon tayo ng internet, such as mobile datas, and even PLDT or different telecommunication brand po. So, naintindihan guys?
Yes po.
Okay, that's good. So, what is the uses of ICT? Saan nga ba ginagamit tong ICT? So, first, in education. So, sa education po natin, meron po tayong tinatawag na LMS or Learning Management System or Learning Management Software. So, this is used in online classes and Moodle-style websites utilizing technology and education. So, we all know that currently right now, we are in a state na hindi pa tayo pwede magkaroon ng mga face-to-face classes. That is why we transition into an LMS or different learning management system. So, before, nagkakaroon po tayo ng face-to-face classes. Ngayon po, we are using different softwares para makapag-conduct ng class. Specifically, pwedeng Moodle. One good example is the Moodle, yung kadalasan na ginagamit for online classes. Then, meron tayong mga Google Classroom, MS Teams or Microsoft Teams, and then Zoom. Even Zoom, ginagamit po natin. So, yung tatlong yon, one good example po siya ng usage natin ng education for LMS. So, dun po, pwede tayo mag-conduct ng class as well as create your assignment there and upload some activities. So, upload some PowerPoints and recording of activities. So, yun po yung ginagawa ni ICT or uses of ICT pagdating po sa education natin. Next is businesses. Well, in ICT, it is a key technology in interdisciplinary measures to reduce costs and improve process, boost innovation, and increase productivity. So, in businesses, ang usage of IT dito is, for example, our social media. In our social media ngayon, so, since maraming interaction pagdating sa ating social media, so, ginagamit ito for businesses in order for them to provide advertisement. For example, sa Facebook po natin, mag-share sila ng mga different ads sa mga businesses nila. Then, maraming likes as well as promotion din sa kanila yon pag na-share siya sa inyong home. So, one good thing about it is yung promotion about businesses. Facebook also is one good example. So, Facebook also is one good example of YouTube also is one good example ng pag-a-advertise ng businesses. For example, yung mga YouTube video po natin, Meron po siya mga different ads, different ads ng video na piniplay po bago po mag-play yung gusto nating panoorin video. And in that way, nakakapag-promote po sila ng kanilang product through the use of ICT or through the use of the technology. Ganon din sa Instagram and Twitter, meron din mga different advertisement for that. Also, ginagamit na rin ngayon, so currently right now, ginagamit na rin ngayon yung mga social media influencers natin in order to boost their productivity and increase yung advertisement nila. Also, yung mga softwares, so gumagawa na rin ng mga different softwares ngayon or different application na para po sa businesses ng mga tao. For example, pag ikaw ay nasa isang food industry, so pwedeng naka-tie up ka sa mga Food Panda or even Grab Food. So pwedeng ganun or even mga local riders po natin. So that is the use of ICT in businesses. Yan. This is the example. So this is the example of it. So next po natin, the e-government or government po natin. So paano naman sa e-government po natin? This can be defined as the set of public sectors reform that makes use of ICT, while the four interaction links of the e-government consist of government to citizens or G2C, government to business or G2B, government to government or G2G, and government to employee or G2E. Now in this one, so dito naman po natin pwedeng i-explain yung part na mas convenient na siya or mas convenient na sa atin na nakakakuha tayo ng mga government IDs natin or even yung mga mga valid IDs natin. For example nito, before siguro yung mga parents nyo, mahaba pa yung pila or para makakuha ng valid ID, it will take them a lot of time to get it. But in our generation today or in today's generation kasi, since meron na tayong ICT or meron na tayong technology to do so, pwede na po tayo mag-book online and then after that, kukunin na lang natin through face-to-face sa branch na gusto natin kunin. For example nito, PhilHealth, Passport, and even SSS po, and even SSS. And that is an example of G2C, government to citizen, government to business, pwede rin online transaction. Meron din tayong mga online transaction for government to businesses. Meron din tayong transaction to government. So, in a way of communicating with them. So, communicating with them through branches. For example, sa branch ng PhilHealth ng Calamba, there is a way on communicating sa branch ng PhilHealth ng Lipa. So, pwedeng ganon. Government to employee naman, so there is a way din on communicating with their employee through the use of G2E. Okay? So, I think we're clear naman po dito sa part na to. Next po natin is yung medicine. Now, how can ICT help in medicine? So, ICT is being used in the provision of medical care in the sense of body scanner, patient monitoring, organ transplants, and patient records. Now, pagdating dito, it can improve also the ICT in a way na before, since wala pa mga body scanner, mahirap pa ma-detect yung mga sakit na meron ng isang tao. But through the use of scanner natin, like for example, CT scan, and even x-rays po natin, madali na natin nakikita or madali na natin nai-interpret yung linalagay po natin or madali na nating may interpret yung yan. So, madali natin na-interpret yung mga sakit ng mga tao. And maybe later on, mas may improve pa yung natin yung technology. Next is patient monitoring and patient record. Now before, yung mga patient record natin and patient monitoring po natin before during the days po is madali documented ba siya? So documented ba siya? Meron pang isang warehouse doon or meron pang isang lalagyan sila na kailangan pa nilang hanapin yung different documents sila. But the thing about that is paano kung halimbawa puno na yung recording or halimbawa wag naman sana nasunog yung isang hospital. So probably mawawala na yung recording nila sa iyo. Recording mo as well as yung monitoring nila sa condition mo. So with that, through the use of ICT, nagkaroon na ng different application or different technology na such as tablets or even computer na nakalagay na yung lahat ng record ng isang patient. So dito sa may amin, ganun na nakalagay na yung record ng isang patient sa isang tablet. Tapos yung buong recording nila naka-stored sa isang cloud database. Okay? So that is one good thing, or that is an example of medicine in patient monitoring and even in patient recording. So I think we're clear about this one. So this is an example. For example, meron tayong mga online SSS, even yung passport po natin, pwede na po nating i-register online, and even SSS, PhilHealth, and so on. There are a lot of government ID na pwede na po nating i-record online, and then i-claim na lang po natin sa mismong branch. So, dito naman po sa right side po natin, meron po tayong CT scan and even X-ray po in order to determine kung ano ba yung mga different illness natin. For example, or may mga na broken bones and so on. Mas madali na determine ng mga doktor and yung mga different possible solution about it. Next is the banking and finances. So in ICT, it is used in the concept of internet banking, automated teller machine or ATM, and the debit card and the credit card. And also the transaction processing and recording po. So, dito po sa ating banking and finance po, kadalasan ginagamit si internet banking, especially ngayong pandemic periods. Right now, medyo ito na yung ginagamit specifically or especially yung mga GCash natin or even banking transaction. For example, may bibilhin ka online, instead na babayaran mo pa siya through cash, is binabayaran mo na lang siya through online payment. Una sa lahat, para makaiwas na rin sa possible na, halimbawa, sinuklian ka, pwedeng nandun yung virus ng COVID and so on and so forth. So, kaya mas safe siya or mas pinapractice na siya nowadays. And then yung automated tellers po natin or automated teller machine or yung tinatawag po natin na ATM. So, yan. Or yung tinatawag po natin na ATM. So, yung ATM po natin, before, nung wala pang ATM, mahaba pa yung pila na pinipilahan ng mga parents po natin para po makakuha sila ng sweldo. Pero ngayon, through the use of ATM, naka-machine na siya. So, doon na lang kinukuha yung mga sweldo or yung mga nakukuhang pera ng ating mga parents and so on. Debit card and credit card, we are familiar with that. Transaction processing and recording. So, nakikita yung different transaction natin through the use of our internet banking din po. Nakikita yung transaction histories po natin. For example, kung kailan ka nag-withdraw, ano yung amount na winidraw mo, and so on and so forth. So, that is an example of banking and finances. Next is the transportation. So, ICT affects transportation directly and indirectly via first, the GPS tracker. So, sa GPS tracker natin, we can assume na for example, hindi natin alam yung lugar na pinupuntahan natin, we can rely on GPS tracker. Eh sir, minsan naman liniligaw kami ng GPS. Bakit ganon? Because guys, there are some areas kasi na hindi pa particularly alam ng GPS natin. But if you are in a area, like for example, sa Manila ka, tapos may hinahanap kang area sa Manila, so probably alam na alam ng GPS kung ano yung way na pupuntahan. So siguro in 5 to 10 years from now, probably magkakaroon na ng way. So probably magkakaroon na po ng way na matatrack na mabilis na matatrack na ng GPS natin yung different directions ng accurately. So probably in 5 to 10 years from now. And then there is mga data-driven driving, social logistics, citizen-centric transport, and even airline reservation system. So we have our airline reservation system. Before, mahirap pa mag-book online. Ngayon, even ikaw mismo sa sarili mo, kaya mo nang mag-book ng airline reservation through the use of our ICT po. And that is an example of it. So meron po tayong Expedia, BDO, mga sample of banks natin, BPI Express Online, so online transactions, and as well as Google Maps or Waze for our GPS trackers. Okay, this is also an example of it. Our BPO industry, so ICT in the Philippines, there are a lot of BPO industry that are located here, as well as different mga BPO companies here in the Philippines. So as you can see here, ICT in the Philippines, well, in ICT in the Philippines, for every 100 Filipinos that you will meet, there is a high chance that they use mobile phones, and 7 of them have 2 phones. So pwedeng may mga ganung instances, probably because of their businesses. The ICT industry employs 19.3% of the total employment population of the Philippine workforce, and ICT in the Philippines is also known as the ICT hub of Asia due to the huge growth of ICT-related jobs in the Philippines or in the country. Kaya kung napapansin nyo guys, dito sa Pilipinas, nung nag-lockdown, ang mga buhay na businesses before is first, of course, hospitals. Hospitals is very important, as well as our BPO companies, because there are a lot of money involving BPO companies. Maraming nabibigay or maraming nahuhulog na pera or natutulong na pera ang mga BPO companies dito sa Philippines. That's why different industry or different BPO companies really want Filipinos to be part of the job, because of yung galing pa sa pagkikipag-communicate, as well as yung sipag nila and yung knowledge sila about computer. That's why ICT in the Philippines is the ICT hub of Asia, kung tawagin po. And that ends our lesson 1 po.